And when this is considered in the context that 17.8% of staff said that they had seen errors, near misses or incidents that could have hurt patients in the last 12 months, it should be deeply concerning to all of us that staff in the NHS do not feel that their concerns are acted on. And as the Honourable Member for Norfolk North mentioned earlier, Junior Dr Chris Day was a very prominent example of someone who blew the whistle and was treated then appallingly. He raised legitimate concerns about staff ratios, but then lost his job. The tribunal action which followed resulted in a lengthy and I consider a wholly unnecessary legal battle where Health Education England were effectively seeking to remove around 54,000 doctors out of whistleblowing protection by claiming that they were not the employer. 4 years and hundreds of thousands of pounds later, they eventually backed down and accepted they should be considered an employer after all. I'll give way.
I'm very grateful to my friend for giving way. Is he aware that a contract which was between Health Education England and trusts, which demonstrated the degree of control that Health Education England has over the employment of junior doctors, was not disclosed for some 3 years in that litigation. And it was drafted by the very law firm which was making loads of money out of defending the case against Chris Day. And when I raise this with Health Education England, they won't give me a proper response because they say the case is at an end. Does he agree that this is totally unacceptable and that it smacks of unethical behaviour by the law firm to make money out of not disclosing a contract that they drafted themselves?
Thank my honourable friend for his intervention. I think he absolutely highlights a really important point. And I will quote what Sir Robert Francis said in response to that. He said, when asked for advice by NHS organisations about issues around public interest disclosure, legal advisors have tended to be influenced by an adversarial litigation and therefore defensive culture. And I think that actually is marked out very clearly in this particular case. And so at the end of the litigation, Health Education England said, and I quote, having never wished to do anything other than facilitate whistleblowing for doctors in training, HEE is happy to be considered as a second employer for these purposes if it removes a potential barrier for junior doctors raising concerns. Well, we've heard very clearly that concern was not manifested itself for at least 4 years during the litigation. So why did it take them so long to accept that this should be considered an employer? And what message does that send out to NHS staff about the corporate attitude to whistleblowers? It is hardly encouraging. And whistleblowers are a vital safeguard when all of the systems have failed. And as my honourable friend mentioned earlier on, there are a whole litany of cases where actually if whistleblowers had been listened to earlier, lives could have been saved. Gosport, Morecambe Bay, Mid Staffordshire, Bristol Royal Infirmary are all examples of that. And the Francis report did thankfully shine a light onto some of the completely unacceptable treatment that NHS staff have experienced. And I quote from one individual who fed into that report. They said that finding employment is proving very difficult and I question whether any of it was worth it. Another said, I've often been so depressed by this experience that I've often considered suicide. Damning words, Madam Deputy Speaker, damning words indeed, and I think that is a shame on us all that people feel that way for having done what we all think is the right thing. So I do acknowledge, however, there are